Hey guys, this is Afro, and thankfully I have good quality speed recordings to work off of, with that occasional lag. Sorry if the previous episodes had moments where the picture lagged. It seems to do that whenever I'm trying to give shading to my art. So for this episode, I thought it could be a good idea to talk about my experiences from real life. Granted, I doubt everyone watching this would be interested in that, but I feel it could make for a good recap on what I've been doing for the past year since I went through a long period not uploading anything. By talking about the stuff that was keeping me busy throughout the years, one of them being my college life, though I'll go through them as vaguely as possible. Don't want to give out too much information. And I start this topic off by going just a few months prior to my college beginnings, being my senior year of high school. To this day, that was easily one of the most stressful times of my life. The workload was criminal, classes like economics were a drag, and it was a point in life where I had to put certain fun things in the backseat to really focus on my education. Which could be another reason I didn't do much videos. I had my friends both IRL and online to help me through it, but it was such hell on my sanity. Which made it all the more satisfying to finally have my high school graduation finally come around. And I can move on to the next chapter of my life, which is college. One thing I was promised by many people is that college is much better than high school. But after going through 6 years of it, would I say that promise was true? Is college really better than high school? Well, yes and no. On one hand, you certainly have more freedom than you had in high school. You get to learn whatever you want, whenever you want, and depending on how many classes you take, the class times aren't as long, and even the longer ones are usually once a week, giving you a lot more free time outside college. But most of all, taking these courses on whichever subject you want can help you get into whatever field you want to be in. In my case, it's the art field, and I could hopefully write and illustrate my own graphic stories and have them adapted into animation, hopefully. So in that sense, there are a lot of factors that make college a much better experience than high school. But with that said, it still comes with the same sense of responsibility that high school had, and I'll explain more when I talk about my own stories and experiences. Let's start with the first campus I attended, which was really close to where I live. I mostly went there because my mom thought it would be a good place for me to start, like get to know what the campuses were like by having me attend a fairly small one, and I'll say it did pay off. But my first year had mixed results. In terms of the art classes I attended, I did a pretty good job there. The professors were nice and noticed potential in me, the projects were fun, and I did make some nice connections there. But then we go to the more academic classes, in which I only took English. Just saying that subject gives me chills. My attention span in there wasn't good, as embarrassing as it sounds. My efforts there had very lukewarm results, and it made me realize how the English classes I took in school were mostly the basic versions of that, and regular English was much more complicated than I thought. They suggested I take the lower version of that class, which had even worse results, to the point where my professor bluntly suggested that I drop the class. Yeah, heck, not even the tutors there were very good help. But hey, it was my first year of college, so it's not like our first years of college would be 100% perfect. And I had friends who had their own fair share of struggles, and even dropped the same subject as me, which made me feel a little better. But that would be the last of me attending that college, and I transferred to the next in my current campus. I will say that I like this campus better, and the art program there seems much bigger and has more classes, thus I feel like I'm having a much better time. But that's not to say the grades I got were perfect. The first art class I took was illustration, which I got a C. Passing, sure, but still the most average grade you can get. But thankfully the next class after that I did much better, which was fundamentals in cartooning. The professor was a lot of fun, as were the assignments he gave us, and I managed to pass the class with an A. Makes sense, as cartooning did seem like my number one forte at the time. Now that I proved myself with the high grade, it should be smooth sailing from there, right? Well, unfortunately no. During the summer of that year, my dad and I went to the counselor to figure out which certificate I should get. And he was by far the worst counselor I ever had. He seemed so disinterested, he didn't seem to ask questions, he just seemed like he wanted to get out of there ASAP, and he just didn't give me the right answers I or my dad were looking for, which costed me a fall semester. And I wouldn't go back till the fall of next year. But that's not to say I didn't do anything in between that time gap. During the spring of 2015, I went to this place that a job hunting agency pointed me to called the Wellness Center. That was kind of like a mini college. The classes were free, and I managed to take an art class as well as another one called College Strategies. Needless to say, I certainly took a lot out of the latter class. I may have fell behind at first, but with the help of my tutor, I managed to get back on track and aced it, giving me a much better experience with academics. And I did make some good connections there, but thankfully the upcoming fall I would return to my previous college once more. That fall, I took basic drawing and drawing for the entertainment arts, which were stressful, especially the latter, but I managed to pass with a C in basic drawing and a B for entertainment arts. I would follow that with taking life drawing and drawing from the masters, which I passed, but with 2 C's in a row. Yeah, I didn't really start with the best grades, but I still passed, I guess. Though I will say it was interesting drawing new people for the first time, and it did help with my anatomy skills. But after getting 2 C's in 1 semester, I really had to push myself to do better next semester, which I sadly wasn't able to due to getting a job in the summer that wouldn't let you take time off for college. But I'll go into more detail with that in a future episode. Well, at least it gave me more time to prepare for the spring of 2017. When I got back, I took 2 classes, which was anatomical drawing and intro to digital arts. For anatomical drawing, I thankfully did fairly well with a B, which is good not just because anatomy was always an aspect of drawing that I previously struggled with, but also the fact that it was with a professor that I previously took and passed both of his classes with a C. But passing it with a B made it feel like 3rd time's the charm. But unfortunately, I didn't do so well in the other class. Well, I experienced dropping a class, but now I experienced flunking a class. Not with an F, but with the 2nd worst grade. I guess it was because Photoshop was tougher than I thought, and none of the assignments didn't really have much to do with art, but with mostly business stuff, so probably not the best match for a professor. Well, not the worst grade. It still felt sucky nonetheless, and I took it pretty hard. Though taking a painting class over the summer helped me feel better, especially with a B I got. The following fall, I took the intro to art class again, but thankfully with a tutor this time as well as a better professor. I also took basic design, which I tried to take one summer, but was cancelled due to a typo and not many students attending. Like some other classes, I struggled at first, but I managed to catch up and did pretty well. The class even ended by having us all be into different groups working on a project, which led to me making good bonds with my teammates and really pushed all of our creativity by making this video game concept, thus finishing basic design with a B. And the professor for that class was a really great guy, and I did have a nice bond with him. But the professor I had for the class I retook might just be the best professor that I had, as I passed Intro to Dart with an A, and I thankfully had him again for the classes of the spring of this year, so not too long ago. I took digital drawing and sketching for animators and illustrators. They were a lot of fun. I took some class trips with the latter class, and I managed to get 2 A's in a row, the first 2 in a really long while. So yeah, that's pretty much my whole college life at this point, starting off to a mostly mixed start, but it did seem to get progressively better with each passing year. speed bumps aside. And I'll even say that taking these art classes did help improve my craft. Not to gloat or say it's perfect or anything, but if you were to look at the artwork I did for the past year or two, and then compare it to the artwork I did 6 years ago, you might notice a big bump in quality. While it wasn't the only factor, I do owe a lot of my knowledge on drawing and art techniques through these many different classes I took throughout the years. I now feel like I have a better understanding of anatomy, proportions, shading, and values, all thanks to these classes and the professors I taught them. I'm even not too bummed out with my first few grades, as I feel the more classes you take, the better you get. Like, what you learned from the previous classes do carry on to the future classes. Now, would I have liked to take these classes sooner without those unexpected detours, thus perfecting my craft sooner? Well, I did at one point. That is until a bit of a revelation I had. You see, when I took my most recent classes when I did, I managed to make some very good friends in those classes. Friends that would leave a fairly big impact on me, as well as my creativity and ideas. And I felt comfortable sharing them with my new friends after a period where I got hesitant to do that after one former acquaintance of mine. Plus the fact that I also made good bonds with some of the teachers, who were encouraging, supportive, and gave me fair critiques from time to time, but also acknowledged talent in me. So, if I didn't have those detours involving my crappy counselor and job, I probably wouldn't have met them to begin with. They would have taken the classes long after I passed them, which made me look back at those certain dark times and feel a lot better about them happening. Basically telling me that everything happens for a reason, and maybe good things can come out of your detours. But most of all, taking these art classes will go into a certificate I'm planning to get that will hopefully help with getting me into the field that I want. Now, what I'll do once I get that certificate, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. Which is getting close, but hey, all the more reason to look into it. But what about you guys? Have you attended college? If so, what's it like for you? Be sure to share in the comments if you're comfortable, ring that bell icon, and be sure to catch me in the next Afro monologue because hey, I got another topic that you might find more interesting. This is Afro Otaku, and I'll catch you all later. Bye!